Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Miguel Paz here. I'm here with a bunch of people here. I'm with Brandon, Liam, Alejandro, and Jonathan. Some of them you guys already know. Brandon and Jonathan, old friends. Liam and Alejandro, brand new to the family. So, Liam, introduce yourself, my friend.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Liam Rooney. I'm a Celtics fan. I'll get that out of the way at the start. So some of my takes might come off a little biased, but I am going to keep it impartial as possible. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me and looking forward to the discussion.
And Ale.
I'm Alejandro Gonzalez, and I don't like Celtics fans. I'm just gonna get that off. Brandon and Liam are some Celtics fan, big Heat fan right here, and I'm currently struggling with the heartbreak of Miami going out in 7 games last night. So I might be biased a little bit too.
This is actually Alejandro's second time coming on the channel because I don't know, for Inter Miami vlogs, I actually do predictions. I go around the stadium asking fans for predictions. And Alejandro is one of the fans that I asked for before. But like I know him obviously. And so he's like the second time. So Liam, you're the first time in the channel, bro. So welcome.
Thank you.
I mean, let's start with the play of the series, to be honest. It was the Jimmy Butler 3. I want to start with Alejandro. What was your reaction to that play?
So initially, like most people, I'm looking at it, and you've got a backpedaling Al Horford, and you've got Jimmy Butler in transition, and I'm just thinking you got to put your head down and take it to the basket because Jimmy Butler does that so well, and I'm thinking worst case scenario, Jimmy Butler is going to draw the foul, get to the free throw line because he lives at the line all night. But then I look back at it, and you criticize him because he missed it. But the three was wide open. If that 3-pointer goes in, Miami takes a 1-point lead. And you're probably seeing a picture of that 3-pointer on Championship Alley in Game 7. And it's one of the biggest shots in Heat history. It's just a make or miss league. I promise you nobody's talking about this shot if Jimmy Butler pulls up and knocks it down. He was wide open. And he's been hitting those open threes. So I can't blame the best player in the series, in my opinion, for taking a big shot in a big moment and, almost changing the entire series if he would have hit it.
Yeah, I want to hear from the other side. So, Brandon, what was your reaction when Jimmy pulled up?
Well, I'm not gonna lie. Even though, of course, when I go on these panels, I'm unbiased, but I was shitting bricks. I was sweating so bad when Jimmy Butler came up because the Heat were on full transition coming out, making quick defense to quick offense. But let me tell you, though, I mean, as Eric Spoelstra said in his press conference after the game, he has no problem with Jimmy Butler taking that shot. And I don't think anybody in the Miami Heat organization should have an issue with Jimmy Butler taking that shot. I mean, he has that killer instinct, and let alone he's been having that throughout this entire playoffs. Multiple games where he has 40 points plus. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind Jimmy wants that last shot. So in reality, and again, as a Celtic fan, but I'm being unbiased right now, sure, Jimmy Butler could have definitely drove in on Al Horford, but at the same time, we got 13 seconds on the clock. You drive in, and then also Jaylen Brown's coming inside as well with Al Horford. So the only open shot he would have that was least uncontested was probably that 3-pointer. So Jimmy Butler, a little far to the left, but I mean, again, I agree with Alejandro on this one. If he makes that one, no one's questioning it. No one in their right mind would question it. But I think it was the right shot.
Leo?
I want to echo what they've both said. Jimmy Butler, 10 out of 10 times, you take that shot. I don't care whether or not people regard him as a 3-point shooter or not. The way he'd been playing the series, his shots were falling, especially in that game. You can make the argument maybe he should have drove the way the game was being called. If he makes that layup, it might be an and one, and you get 3 points the easy way. But you can't leave that to chance. You had the guaranteed 3 points if you make that shot. And I think, like Alejandro said, if that shot goes in, we're having a much different conversation this morning. We're probably ranking that like how big is that shot all time in Heat history. Jimmy, he got a good look. I think the one thing you can say is maybe he just ran into it a little too quickly. Maybe take one more just to set yourself. Nobody was around you. But if that's what you're nitpicking, I don't think it's a bad shot. I think he did the right thing. And I mean, who can blame him? The way that last minute had gone, everything Miami was putting up was going in. And now here's where my Celtics fan, I was with Brandon. I was shitting myself. I was in a room full of Heat fans, and I had talked way too much for that shot to go in. So Seeing you hit the front iron, it was crazy because it was like, half a second where that ball was just floating in the air. The entire series depended on it. And, like we said, make or miss league. You live with the shots that you make and you live with the shots that you miss. Unfortunate for Jimmy Butler because I thought he played a hell of a series. And if you could give an MVP to a losing team, I would have. But overall, I think probably tomorrow the shot isn't going to be talked about as much. It was the right decision. You can't blame Jimmy. It was the right thing to do. So can't hate him for that.
Yeah, Jonathan, what was your thought going down there when Jimmy had when he missed the three?
Yeah, because I remember, what was that? It was like a crazy comeback. I think like under 2 minutes, like they just kept scoring. But I guess in the moment I was like, damn, like why did you take that shot? But I'm like thinking more about it, like, obviously that was a game where it was Jimmy's game. The whole series was Jimmy's game, and you can feel that he wanted to win. He wanted to get the lead, and I don't think maybe he had the trust and maybe his other players like who were on I think it was Strus, Oladipo. Maybe he felt, I want this one. Let me either take this three. I had the opportunity. And yeah, you talked before. It's a make or miss league, and obviously it sucks that he missed that shot. But this is, I guess, a stepping stone where you learn, you see what the season was, and you kind of find ways to improve into next year. And I think this is a season that it was a great year. They were first in the league, but obviously this shot can change the course of the year. But obviously, I think you learn from this, and you never know what changes with this off season.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Jimmy was super tired in the fourth quarter. He was super six when he scored 4 points. And like my reaction was like, "What the fuck are you doing, Jimmy?" Like that was my reaction. I wanted to break everything. But then like if you go through the season, my reaction with Jimmy was like, "Jimmy, stop passing the ball and shoot the ball more." Like
right.
Alejandro can, like, because he's a Heat fan, so like Jimmy, like, stop passing the ball and shoot the ball. Like I don't care. Like Jimmy needs to score 40 points. I'm like, oh, like Jimmy messed up, but like it's good because he scored 45 points. But like I'm like, Jimmy needs to score 45 points in order for Miami to win. So, but yeah, when you like after the game, when I was a little bit more calm down, I was like, yeah, like that shot, game 7. If he makes that, we're going to the finals. Like
right.
we're talking about something else today here. So I didn't mind about like Jimmy taking that shot. If it was Max Strus making that shot, Max Strus, ex-Boston Celtics fan, Boston player, man. He played a hell of a series as well.
He was making shots that, like, he wouldn't make the ones that he was supposed to make. Let me put that out.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the series, you give him wide open threes, and I was like, we're fine. He's going to miss that. As soon as there's like 3 guys in his face, he's near half court, shot clock's running down. I'm like, this is going right in the – just watch, swish. Every time. It's like that man just channeled all of his anger for being cut, and he said, I am going to knock you guys out. That was the only guy, because Jonathan had mentioned Strus was on the court. That was the only guy that I was like, if he had taken that shot, we're, again, having a different conversation. But, yeah. I wanted to ask, though, you guys, you said Jimmy Butler looked tired. He played every minute. Do you think if he had a little bit of rest, he might have been able to – it just the ball was short. Maybe he was fatigued. I don't know if, like, this is just a crazy, like – a what if, but like you maybe a little bit more rest, he's able to just get a better shot. He's been throwing up shots all day. Arms are going to be tired. I mean, you just looking at it that way, maybe he gets a better shot.
I mean, I really doubt that, though, because especially when you look at both sides of the court for this game. I mean, it was a 7-man rotation for both teams. However, 4 out of the 5 stars were playing 40-plus, 30-plus minutes. So if you take Jimmy Butler out, who's going to be right there for Jason Tatum at the guard, right? Who's going to be right there to make sure that the run's coming for Miami offensively. So in reality, yeah, sure, Jimmy Butler, he needs that rest. But, as probably the best competitor there is in the NBA, you can't take a guy like that off the court in a Game 7 scenario. So Jimmy Butler, you want him to give him rest. But, who would even come in for him,
Nobody. The way I feel about it is I don't think exhaustion played a role in him missing the 3. I think exhaustion played a role in his decision to take the 3, because if he drives into the basket and he gets his 2, you've got a tie game, less than 24 seconds. So Boston is going to have it for the last shot. So best case scenario for Miami in a tie game is Boston misses a buzzer beater and you go to overtime. Then you've got 5 more minutes. I really think Jimmy Butler understood that the Miami Heat were absolutely gassed, and he wanted to win the game right then and there. He wanted to put Boston away because in 5 more minutes, I think Boston had the better game throughout. And I think Boston, in reality, they're the healthier and better team. They've just got more to go to in a 5-minute period to decide everything. So I think Jimmy Butler just wanted to take that moment and finish it. And exhaustion played a role. I think it really did.
So Alejandro mentioned that in reality, Boston is a better team than Miami. You know, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart this year, they've been absolutely phenomenal. Jason Tatum probably top 10 best players right now in the NBA. Why did it take Boston so long to kill his Miami Heat team, Brandon?
I mean, to let you know right now, I mean, I said this on other panels before, but still, again, all respect to the Miami Heat, but the only team that can beat the Celtics are the Celtics. I mean, we talk about, game 1 where Al Horford, due to COVID protocols, even though he was with shoot-arounds an hour before tip-off, Marcus Smart being injured, and the Heat obviously outplayed the Celtics in that one. And then you go on to, lo and behold, game 3, what was it, 19 turnovers that the Celtics gave out? And when I rewatched that game, 7 of those turnovers came straight off of bounce passes, basically, to the Miami Heat players. I mean, Victor Oladipo even made a highlight reel on Twitter after game 3. That's how unfortunate they were with the turnovers. So, again, the Celtics turning over the ball. Jaylen Brown looked like he couldn't even dribble at all throughout this entire series, which I thought was weird. And
he cannot dribble, man. He cannot dribble at all.
At all. So, in reality, it's like, the Heat only won. And I hate to say this narrative because at the end of the day, it's about the end of the end score.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
The Heat won 3.
I'll kick you out if you say that.
Series. But at the same time, they won 3 games in this series. You know what I mean? So the Celtics themselves, the reason why I went so late, Jimmy Butler, Jimmy Buckets, Bam obviously showing up for game 3. And honestly, just the Celtics offensively being lackluster due to either injuries or just not getting on runs. And obviously that's going to be something we have to look at in the finals. But, I mean, again, the Celtics were able to not beat themselves in Game 7.
Alejandro, do you agree with that?
In a way, yeah, I think Boston beat themselves in Game 3 when they turned it over 23 times. They should have won that game, especially considering the fact that Jimmy Butler didn't play in the entire second half of that one. But I think Miami's grit you need to credit Miami's grit. You need to credit Miami's fight because Miami Heat culture is so overused. I think it's a cliche, but it's used for a reason. Like, it's very real. That team has a ton of will, and it starts with Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, when he was healthy, he was sensational. With the exception of those 2 games where you could tell that he didn't have his burst, he just didn't have that energy that he normally brings. And he scored, I think it was like 9 and 11. He just wasn't Jimmy Butler. With the exception of those 2 games, Jimmy Butler had a historical series. And it was a historical playoffs. He's been great since game 1 against Atlanta. So I think Miami is a team that, if healthy, could very easily be in the NBA Finals. But that hurt them having Jimmy Butler, not 100% for 2 games. Kyle Lowry wasn't 100%, and you could tell as well he didn't have the same speed. Tyler Hero, the 6th man of the year, I don't think it's talked about enough that he's missed several games in the series, and last night he might as well have missed because Tyler Hero wasn't Tyler Hero last night. So the injury bug, it's part of the playoffs. It's part of basketball. I think it got to Miami, but I think the series goes 7 games because of Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat's grit.
Yeah, I mean, Liam, why is Boston in the finals today?
Honestly, we talk about grit as well. This Celtics team has a grit. If you look at it, every time we've lost in the postseason, we've won right after. We're undefeated after a loss in the postseason. It shouldn't be that way because a couple of these games that we've lost, like Brandon said, we've kind of beat ourselves. So you shouldn't lose. So you're expecting them to come out and win. I think Boston is in the NBA Finals today for one reason, and that's Ime Udoka. I do not understand, in my personal opinion, how he was not Coach of the Year. I don't even say this as a bias standpoint. I say this as you look at that Celtics team in January, under 500, dead in the water. People are saying, blow the team up, fire Ime Udoka. he makes a couple adjustments, a couple trades from Stevens, but he gets a new roster. He makes a couple adjustments. We're the 2 seed. I'm pretty sure it was the Heat game in the end of the regular season where you guys took the 1 seed from us. We're one win away from a 1 seed going from the 11th seed. And then you go into, obviously, the playoffs. The Coach of the Year voting is already done, but you beat the Nets 4-0. You sweep them. KD, Kyrie, and we were missing Rob Williams in that series. You sweep the Nets. You go against the defending champion, best team in the world, or best player in the world by some, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and you beat them in 7. And then you get the Miami Heat, and you get Spoelstra, who is just a genius. And Ime went head-to-head with Spoelstra. And I think Ime Udoka is huge for the Celtics team because we've been in this position before, and no disrespect to Brad Stevens. I love him. I thought he was a great coach for us, but there was just something he didn't have that Ime had. And maybe it's Ime with the Spurs for all those years with Popovich. He's been into the championships. He's gone into Miami and won the title in Miami as part of the coaching staff. I don't know if that played a factor in it, but I really think that the main reason is Ime Udoka. There's a reason why they win after they lose so frequently. And I think it's because Ime is going into that locker room and he's telling these guys, like, hey, like, you guys are in the NBA for a reason. Jason, you're a superstar. Jalen, you're a superstar. So act like it. A lot of these times in these games, they play hero ball. It's one guy taking all the shots. I'm going to win us the game. I'm going to be a superstar. I think Ime is driving it into him. It's a team game. Celtics are at their best when that ball is shared. Look at last night. We had Smart, Brown, Tatum, all with 20-plus points. Grant had a good game off the bench. Al didn't score as much, but he was contributing a lot. When we're at our best, we're sharing the ball. Ball movement is fluid, and I think Ime Udoka is driving that into us, and I think that is the biggest reason that the Boston Celtics are in the finals tonight.
And Jonathan, why is Miami in Cancun today and not in the NBA Finals?
I mean, I think Alejandro kind of hit on it. Like, the injuries, kind of derailed them a bit. I think coming into the playoffs and all season long, the strength of the Heat was the amount of, their talent. Like, they had a good bench. Like, they had a lot of players to use, and they were really playing very well across the season. But I think, once, crunch time comes and you're in these big moments, it felt like they had a rotation of really maybe 7 players the whole this whole series long. Like, you really didn't have a solid rotation where you have guys that are exhausted, but you're gonna keep running them out. And I think that was the thing where at some point, I don't, maybe, I mean, obviously it's playoffs, so use of minutes probably doesn't matter, but I think maybe you didn't have a Tyler Hero where he comes in the second quarter and can really light it up, score 15, 16 points off the bench, but you didn't have him to score. All series long, he wasn't, dependable as he was coming in from the 6th man of the year. And then, I think injuries, and one thing I'm surprised about was how, home and road did not matter. You're seeing the Celtics beat in Game 7 on the road. You're seeing the Heat win in Game 6 elimination, on the road. It's kind of crazy how it doesn't matter if you're at home or on the road. You can still lose by 20 points in front of your home crowd. It's kind of funny a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Game 3 as well. First game for Boston. Game 3, and then Miami goes there and put a hell of a first half by Miami. And then I don't know how we won that game, to be honest. No Jimmy Butler in the second half. That game was probably the most stressful game I figured out, to be honest. That game was I was 7 years old after that game, to be honest.
I thought we were winning Game 4. I thought.
What happened?
I thought we can easily take this one.
No.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then they got just manhandled on Game 4.
It's crazy though. Like Johnny said, the home teams had a losing record in the series. Celtics were 1-2, and Miami was 1-3.
I mean, you can see this play has been weird because you can see it with the Dallas Mavericks and Phoenix Suns series as well. Game 7, Dallas goes to Phoenix and absolutely kills them in Phoenix. And then I believe Golden State as well against Dallas. If you go to Dallas is going to be a tough team to be in their home stadium. So yeah, it's I don't know what happened this year. After last year, no fans in the arena. So this year it was just weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, Alejandro, what does Miami need? What player Miami needs next season to take the next step, and win the championship?
I mean, I hear a lot of talk about Donovan Mitchell. Maybe I think Miami with another star is truly a championship team. Like I mean, one of the favorites. I think with the way the roster is currently constructed, they're always going to be an underdog. I'm not saying they can't win a title because I've watched them all year, and I think this Heat team was capable of winning this year. I really do believe they could have been NBA champions. A few things change. Miami has a good shot at it, but the way the roster is currently constructed, they're going to be underdogs against the Milwaukee Bucks. They're going to be underdogs against the Boston Celtics, which are a really young team, and Miami's not getting any younger. Their core is Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler, two aging guys. They're in their 30s. They're going to be maybe even underdogs against Philadelphia, even though I don't believe so. But the Eastern Conference is getting better, and they've got some good, young, talented teams. And I think Miami might need another star to get over that hump that they're currently in.
No, yeah, exactly. But I mean, I was on before I even went on this podcast today. Last night after the game, I went with a couple of Heat fans back and forth on exactly what the Heat's offseason should look like. He said the four options that they're looking at right now: Damian Lillard, Joel Embiid, Bradley Beal, and of course Donovan Mitchell. So right now Bradley Beal probably be the most highest paid player in the NBA with a 5-year do you pull the plug on the Tyler Hero project? Point guard position. One thing I could see possibly, as hard as it might be, Damian Lillard in a Heat jersey in South Beach. That's a real possibility right now. We're talking about a Portland team with a new GM and a couple of guys coming in as well with Danny Ainge over there. And my apologies, not Danny Ainge, it's the guy from ESPN. I forgot his name, unfortunately. But either way, it's a new front office in Portland, right? They're in a rebuild mode. And Damian Lillard, sure, tough it out, be that guy to be the franchise. However, if you're Portland, Damian Lillard is prime possession for at least a top 5 pick. Prime possession for a bunch of young cast. How basically the Wizards did it, getting rid of Russell Westbrook and now having Kuzma. How the Pelicans did it, getting Ingram, getting, again, CJ McCollum from Portland over there to the Pelicans, and now they see this Pelicans team now in the playoffs. So in reality, the idea of Damian Lillard is not too far-fetched compared to what Donovan Mitchell could be like, where that's all they had got in Utah. So Damian Lillard to Miami, that should be the mission right now for Pat Riley, and I think that's going to be on everyone's mind coming to the offseason.
Well, that's what Pat Riley does. Like, he does not care. He'll do whatever he wants to make sure he gets the best player possible to make this team even better. So, like, you can have that discussion of, like, you want to, run it back. You went Eastern Conference Finals, but he's like, no, we didn't win a championship this year.
Yeah.
You got to tear down this roster, do whatever it takes, and get another best player available, and make sure that we have to win a championship every single year possible. That's the mindset that Pat Riley and the Heat have.
And being a Heat fan, so relaxing to have Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra in your organization, because they're going to do the best job for the team, and next year's team is going to be probably better than this year's team. So it's like having Pat Riley as the front office is just something so relaxing for Heat fans, because he's going to find out something to make this team way better. And I was just thinking right now, how about Kyrie? I mean, I know.
I wouldn't even touch it with a
Liam and Brandon don't like Kyrie, but yeah.
I don't.
Maybe you instill some Heat culture in him and change him.
No, you can't because that man more than a 10-day contract. You can't.
Kyrie's
Kyrie, yeah, I don't like Kyrie.
Too dominant of a ball handler.
Not even that, man. I mean, the real question is, will he even show up to the court? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's too many
off-court issues.
It's too many off-court issues. I don't think the Heat. I mean, yes, the Heat can change something, but
I'd rather get Terry Rozier than Kyrie.
What was everybody saying about Jimmy Butler? What was everybody saying about Jimmy Butler's character and what kind of teammate he was?
Kyrie's a different kind.
I think it's different though. From Jimmy was just too much of a hard ass. People didn't like that. Kyrie is a hard ass in another way. It's just
not a good way if you're curious.
Yeah, no. And if you're asking me, Spoelstra, would not take any shit from Kyrie.
And no, the Heat organization just doesn't take anything from anybody.
Yeah.
It's so, nuts and bolts. This is the way it goes, from body fat percentage to like the workout routines. Everything is very structured. There's a structure in place, and players just play their role in that structure. So it's not as much freedom to do whatever they want like they can do in other places.
I'm telling you, if Kyrie tried the stuff that he did this season and Udonis Haslem was on that team,
They're fighting.
there's going to be fights.
Yeah.
There's gonna be fights. Udonis is throwing hands. But no, I don't. That's an interesting one, the Kyrie. I don't think I'll say this though. I don't think Kyrie's going to be a Brooklyn Net next year. I don't think Kyrie's going to be a Brooklyn Net next year.
Yeah.
I don't know where.
They're talking about the Lakers. Well, I doubt it though. Like,
not another LeBron Kyrie reunion.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know if LeBron wants Kyrie and team. He probably does.
A joke.
Yeah. Just to like close this Eastern Conference final. I want to talk. This discussion is going especially to Brandon, by the way. Can you explain me the quarter things going on with the Boston Celtics? Because I don't get it.
Well,
whoever started that is like so dumb because I don't get it at all.
Well, I mean, I think it was just more or less just a frustration of a lot of Celtic fans throughout the first 3 games. Because in reality, I mean, as I said before earlier in this podcast, it's all what your Spoelstra said. It's all about the final score. But it's like you go into game 1 leading by double digits, right? You go into the third quarter, you lose horribly in that third quarter. Historically, one of the worst offensive games we've seen the Boston Celtics have in the postseason. And then you go into the fourth quarter, you win the fourth quarter, and you still lose that game. And the same thing happens in game 3, where you have another historically horrible quarter where the Heat score 30 plus and the Celtics don't even break 20. And you're down 2-1 in the series, and you only lost 2 quarters. So in reality, I mean, that whole entire thing, I think as a Celtic fan personally, it was just more frustration of the Celtics again beating the Celtics, where it's like, I mean, if you don't get blown out in a quarter, we're going 3-0. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's probably where all the quarter thing went. I mean, personally, I don't really believe in any of that shit, but, I mean, it is what it is, man. He won 3 quarters, and they won 3 games, no excuses. So
that was just dumb. I don't know. Like didn't get it at all.
I can echo what Brandon said. I think it was just a lot of frustration. Like, you're looking at it like those games were there for us to take. And, you're trying to find ways, like, where did we lose this game? How do we lose this game? And like game 1, perfect example. I mean, the way that first half went, nobody could have expected what was going to happen in the third quarter. And we come out and we play like a high school JV team. I mean, like, it was horrible. It was horrible. And then you still come back in the fourth and you put in your best effort. But I think it was frustration. And the only time I looked at it and was like, kind of like looking at it like, man, this kind of makes sense, was the first game, because it was the first game. That was our small sample size. But as it went on, I was like, listen, you can't use that as, oh, well, we only lost 3 quarters. It doesn't matter. You're down 2-1. Shut up and win. Like, that's it. But yeah, frustration, I think, is what it was, because it was like, as a Celtic fan, you're trying to find ways why you lost that game, and you're down 2-1. You're like, man, we really could have been 3-0 up in this series if we had just played 4-quarter basketball. But it is the Eastern Conference Finals in one of the best playoffs I've seen in a long time. You can't rely on 3 good quarters. There's a reason you're professional basketball players. Lock in for 4 quarters and you'll win a game. And that's what happened in the games we won. We played our best ball for 4 quarters. The whole quarter argument, though, is very, very strange. And I think it was just a scapegoat for a lot of Celtics fans to still believe in their team and kind of also, in a way, talk crap to Miami fans, because it's like, wow, took an all-time bad quarter. But
it's funny because even like the media was talking about it.
Yeah.
Like ESPN was talking about like the quarter thing. I'm like, whoa, wait. I was like, hold up, wait a minute, what's going on here? Like that, like, to be honest, ESPN was awful with Miami. It was like this whole year, awful
all year.
Like I don't care if they talk about Miami Heat because like they know they're thing about basketball, but like, man, when the Jimmy Butler thing happened with the knee, like I don't care about that, but like compared to like the John Moran thing and Jordan Poole, the coverage that John Moran got compared to like Jimmy Butler was like completely like out of mind. And that's what I mean when like the Miami Heat don't get any coverage at all. Like I don't care if they talk about the Miami Heat like basketball, because like at the end of the day they won't say anything. And like I was listening to Dan Alter this weekend, and he was saying, "Oh, the media still hates Miami because of the Big Three era. Since like we were like, oh, everyone hates Miami when LeBron came here, Wade was here, and like I feel like the media has stayed with that, like, oh, we don't like Miami, and like people hate when like Miami Heat fans say, oh, Heat culture, because like at the end of the day they don't get what Heat culture is, but like Heat culture is a real thing, I think, and like they don't like that. So that's
I can just envision right now this morning on like First Take that it's bashing Jimmy Butler for that 3-point shot. They're like,
No,
oh,
you can't do it. You
I
can't
hope
do
not.
it.
It's
The only reason Miami was in Game 7 in the first place. It's the only reason they got there, and he's the only reason why the game was even winnable late. Like without his 35 last night, Miami's getting blown out. Nobody else other than Bam Adebayo did much at all last night. The Heat were absent. Like Oladipo was a construction worker with all those bricks he was throwing up. I mean, his defense was good all series long, but his offense hasn't recovered after the injury. Like you see, the jump shot isn't there for him. So you can't bash Jimmy Butler. Like I find it very ignorant if anybody goes and bashes Jimmy Butler. I was so upset last night when I was going through Instagram stories and a bunch of casuals were like posting, "Oh my God, Jimmy Butler sold us to get." Like, no, stop it. You don't know basketball if you think Jimmy Butler sold us the series. Like Jimmy Butler's why we're here. He's the best player on the floor.
Yeah, but I have to say this though. I mean, besides Mike Breen being like the play-by-play guy, I really did wish TNT was doing the Eastern Conference Finals, man. I wanted to see Charles and Shaq in this one, man. I'm telling you right now, the fact that they did the Western Conference Finals only lasted 5 games, they should have immediately switched the media and said, like, quick TNT, grab on the rest of the Eastern, man. But, I mean, again, as Alejandro said, I actually had a bunch of Heat fans that called me, and a lot of them were out of Flanagan's, and it got real silent of Flanagan's. Somebody yelled out, "What on Jimmy, get off the," you know what I mean? There was like bashing Jimmy. There's bashing Jimmy. In reality, I mean, Jimmy Butler, 47 points in Boston. I mean, probably the best performance from a Heat player in the postseason since LeBron James. And I hate to remind myself about this, but Game 6, 2012. But, I mean, right now, I mean, Butler's probably a top 3 player. And I'm saying this with confidence. He is a top 3 player in the NBA actively right now.
Wow.
I don't even agree with that.
Spicy take.
I'm just saying it's a hot take, but it's a good one though. I got a lot of arguments and a lot of receipts. But
who would you take? Who would you take?
Who's your top 2 first of all?
Top 2, most likely. And of course, I hate saying this because Anthony Davis is going through injuries in his career, and Jason Tatum is blowing up. But right now, top 2 will have to be most likely, right? Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Okay.
And Kevin Durant. That's how I really feel. And KD was injured this year because I know his numbers don't look like it much, and he wasn't on primetime TV. But KD, if he wasn't injured throughout this entire year, again, I mean, he's been in his prime for the past other 2 seasons. If he wasn't injured this year, he would have kept on going.
So you're telling me Jimmy Butler is better than Luka, Steph?
Yeah.
Jason Tatum,
LeBron James.
No,
the way he picks it up, I really do believe so. Yeah, I think that Stephen Curry is a phenomenal player still, probably one of the best players of all time. But this season, as an active player, I mean, Stephen Curry, 25 points off the bench as Jordan Poole kept on going when Curry was coming back from injury. But at the same time, Jimmy Butler was carrying a Miami Heat team where the offense was just coming off of your role players from the look like from majority of the time. I mean, Stephen Curry has Clay, Draymond, and everyone else doing it off the work. Curry gets most of his shots, a majority of them at least off ball, off the brilliant, performance of Steve Kerr and his mastery of the court. But in reality, it's like Jimmy Butler throughout the entire regular season as an all-star, and let alone in these playoffs, 40 points back and forth. Right now, I mean, I wouldn't want to go against Jimmy Butler. No. I'd rather go against Stephen Curry than Jimmy Butler. Let you know that right now.
It's the mindset, man. It's that Jimmy Butler killer instinct. But I disagree that he's a top 3 player in the league. I think he's a top 5 player in the postseason. Like, I think the aura of playoff Jimmy is very real. You don't see so many guys that are able to elevate their game as much as Jimmy does, because regular season Jimmy, he's going to get guys involved. He's going to get his 20, 21 points, and he's going to be content with it as long as the Miami Heat pull off a win. Now, playoff Jimmy just I don't think he had a 40-point game this season. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think in the regular season he had a
I don't think
40-point
so, to
game.
be honest. Yeah,
And then
definitely don't.
and then playoff Jimmy's like dropping 40 every other night. It's just like playoff Jimmy just has something where he's got an instinct and he's not going to let Miami lose, and he's going to go at you every single possession. He wants the ball in his hands and he's going to attack. So playoff Jimmy, I think he's top 5 in the league just because he's got this mental strength and this will. And playoff Jimmy almost had a beat down Miami team in the NBA Finals. I mean, he was a shot away from having a Miami Heat team that was struggling with injury. And against a tough Boston team that already knocked out Brooklyn and Milwaukee, Jimmy B almost had the Heat in the final. So I think in the postseason, he's a top 5 player in the league.
I'm just imagine that Heat team in the finals if they beat the Celtics. That would be rough. I feel.
I
think Jimmy though is like one thing that I don't think he gets enough credit for is, you know, he'll still make some 3-pointers here or there, but he's not a 3-point shooter.
No.
Especially, which is what's crazy in this league is you look at the top guys. Almost every single one of them are good to elite 3-point shooters. And then there's just this one guy on the list who's an outlier, and it's Jimmy Butler. And it's in the modern NBA, the way he's able to get to his spots and score so efficiently without that 3-point shot, it's amazing to watch and frustrating to watch as a Celtics
It's
fan.
like old school, I guess.
And yeah, because it's like this guy, when I tell you he has mastered the art of getting to the free throw line, it is insane. Because it's not like previous, series or whatever you want where you can say the superstar got the calls because, he is who he is. You look at almost every single foul that Jimmy got, it was a foul. The man just knows a way to manipulate the ball, put his body in a position to get to the line. And I think that's something that also just makes him so dangerous because not only is he getting points on the board because he's an elite free throw shooter, he's putting other teams in foul trouble. And that's what makes him so hard to guard because he's going to get you. The guy who's guarding him is going to get 3 fouls, minimum, getting 3 fouls. And now you have to switch him off onto somebody else. And he's at risk, So Jimmy he's a dog. He sees that rim and he just goes. And I think it's crazy. And I think I agree, top 5 player when it comes to playoff times. I get scared anytime we have to face him, whether it was in his Chicago days, his Philly days, it didn't matter. That guy in the playoffs there's some switch that he has. And when he turns it on, there's not many guys better in the league, but top 3 player actively, that's still a spicy take.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
he's high, but that's a hot take for a reason.
In the regular season.
Yeah.
That's different.
I mean,
In the playoffs,
yeah.
I say in the playoffs,
the playoffs he might even be the best, but as I said before, Jimmy Butler, not only was he carrying that Heat team and obviously all-star throughout the entire regular season, and then what he's done in Miami for the postseason was probably once in a lifetime. And we're seeing Jimmy Butler in his prime right now. That's what I believe. And sure, Joel Embiid, you can argue, should have been the MVP this year. Jokic, MVP this year. And then you also talk about, Trae Young, which I like the argument because he had, the most points and the most assists during the regular season. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, Jimmy Butler all around defensively, his awareness with the ball. And as you said before, Liam, his way to contest and keep on going and get those fouls or at least make contested shots. And the aggressive ball style we haven't seen a lot. And the only other player you compare to, and I'm not saying I'm comparing the 2 players, but the style of play where they're aggressive going into the paint and they just do not care. Giannis does the exact same thing in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Exact same thing in Milwaukee. Yeah. So from that specifically, I feel like Jimmy Butler is in his prime, and for a good reason, he should be at least considered for top 3. That's what I think.
I mean, Brandon said he'd rather face Jimmy Butler instead of Steph Curry. So let's talk about Steph Curry team, Golden State. So I got a question for you guys. Is Golden State that good, or is Dallas just super tired coming into the series?
I mean, personally, when I looked at that entire Dallas Mavericks team throughout the entire postseason, it was Luka Doncic and Brunson. In reality, when they blew out games, Spencer Dinwiddie off the bench was giving you 20+. But besides that, their defense as a team, the only thing they relied on is probably just their height. I mean, from Kleber, Bertans, and of course Powell as their starting center. I mean, when the Dallas Mavericks were winning games, they would have to at least shoot more than 60% overall from three. I mean, from Finney-Smith and as well as from Bullock. When they weren't shooting that, they weren't doing nothing. And that's exactly what happened in the Warriors series. Look at game one, they were off at all. Game two, they had a good lead. However, they couldn't keep it together. And then game three, 0-10 for Finney-Smith. Bullock puts up a goose egg as well. And it's like Luka's dropping 40 and 35. But for what reason? You know what I mean? So don't get me wrong, Warriors have a terrific defense. I think that this is actually what we're seeing from a 2015 Warriors team, but instead swip out the veteran takes and put in a more efficient young core. And that's what we're seeing right now for 2022 Golden State. But the Mavericks, they definitely didn't show up at all in this series. Either you say from Warriors defense or the Mavericks inefficient three-point shooting, but I mean, they did not show up this season.
My question is like, do we really know what the Warriors can do? I mean, they've beaten a Nuggets team in the first round that's Nikola Jokic and nothing else. Then they get a Memphis Grizzlies team, which is probably a year too early for them because they're super young. And they had Ja Morant hurt during this. Ja Morant was hurt during the series. Plus, I've never been a big believer in the Grizzlies, at least not yet, as good as they played in the regular season. But the team is real young. And then now they play against a gassed Dallas Mavericks team that, again, behind Luka Doncic, there's not much. Brunson was fantastic in the playoffs, but they're not that deep. I don't think they're that great. I think it was a favorable matchup for Golden State in the Western Conference Finals. Yeah. I think without a doubt, Boston is going to be the best team that they've faced in the postseason. I think that's
the West hasn't been good this year, I feel like.
It hasn't.
Yeah.
So do we really know how good Golden State is? Because in my opinion, they haven't been tested. They've had favorable matchup after favorable matchup in the entire playoffs.
I mean, do they have to be tested though? Like, we know what Steph Curry and Klay Thompson can do.
Oh
like,
yeah,
we know Steve Kerr is like one of the best coaches to ever coach them in the NBA, and Draymond Green is always going to be Draymond Green. But now I feel like there's players like Jordan Poole, who else, like
Wiggins,
yeah. Like,
Wiggins.
What are players like going to be in the finals? We know Steph and Klay and Draymond are going to show up, but Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins are going to show up. That's the question.
Well, we know the Warriors are good. We know they're good, but are they going to beat a team like Boston? Boston isn't Dallas. Boston isn't Denver. Boston isn't a Memphis team without Ja Morant. The Celtics, on the other hand, my point is the Celtics have proven themselves. I mean, you knock out Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving in a straight sweep, 4 games. Then you go against the best player in the world, in a lot of people's opinion. In my opinion as well, I think Giannis Antetokounmpo is the best player right now. And you beat him in 7. And then you go against the number 1 seed Miami Heat and Jimmy Butler, a team that deserves respect, and we've spoken enough about them, and you beat them in 7. So Boston has been tested against great team after great team. I don't think Golden State has. So let's see what happens when you get a battle-tested Celtics team against a Golden State team that has kind of cruised their way to the NBA Finals.
I mean, you mentioned this is going to be Golden State probably the best team that they're going to face, but as well to Boston, I feel like this is going to be the best offensive team they're going to face with Steph Curry. You know, like that's all you need to say is Steph Curry. Like, do you have an answer for Steph Curry when Steph gets hot?
His name is Marcus Smart. His name is Marcus Smart, and he's a defensive player of the year. The one thing I'd say for the Celtics defensively is they're going to get up in Golden State's face. They're going to make them tired. Steph is very adept at avoiding pressure, and even when getting, like someone's hands up right in his face, like Marcus is going to be, he's really good at getting away from that. The multiple screens, they're gonna make it hard for us defensively. But you look at Marcus Smart. I mean, even Bam in this series, every time Bam was trying to set a screen on Smart, somehow he's slipping through. And I mean, Bam's a huge man, and Smart, he's a pretty big guy for his size, but like he's adept at getting through screens. He's going to follow Steph Curry. I feel like he's going to be just locked in on him all series. But you don't stop Steph Curry. You just contain him. And that's the best thing, that Marcus Smart's not going to stop Curry and make him get, 15 points. Curry's probably going to average 30. I'll put it out there. He'll probably average 30. But our job is to make him average 30 and not 35. And to make everybody else, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, I'm not too worried about Draymond offensively, more defensively. Wiggins and Poole, you gotta. I'm more concerned about the supporting role, offensively, because they do have that ability that Curry can kind of have an off night and Klay Thompson can light it up. Andrew Wiggins has found new life in Golden State. And Jordan Poole, what a story. I mean, like, the kid's nasty. But I think defensively, and kind of echoing Alejandro, this is the best team Golden State's going to play. But you can't hate Golden State for beating the teams that were put in front of them.
Right.
You know, they did beat the MVP. You know, yes, Ja was out, but the Grizzlies also were up by 50 points at one point without Ja Morant against that Warriors team. The Dallas series, it is what it is. Couple shots go here and there. Dallas maybe makes it a 6-game series, but you can't hate them for that. There's a reason they've been to as many finals as they've been in the last 8 years. And they know how to win in the postseason.
They're a dynasty.
Yeah. And this is the toughest team they're going to face. It does give me some eerily similar vibes to the Raptors in, 2019? That a lot of people were talking about how will they cope against this defensive juggernaut that the Raptors are. And as we know, obviously there's injuries for Golden State. They were not 100% healthy. KD and Klay not at 100%, but there's one team in the league since Steve Kerr has taken over the Golden State Warriors that has a winning record against the Golden State Warriors, and it is the Boston Celtics. And I don't think that is a fluke. It is Boston is a physical, in-your-face defensive team. The biggest question mark for me is, can Boston score consistently in this series? That's my biggest question about this Golden State team is, can they contain the Boston offense? Because if they can, they'll win.
I mean, the question is like Boston like 100% healthy, and how tired is Boston? First of all, yes, you swept Brooklyn, but like mentally, that series was so exhausting for everyone. You know, the Kyrie thing, mentally that was like really exhausting. Then you go play Milwaukee against Giannis Antetokounmpo, who absolutely kill you and the defense. You know, you cannot stop Giannis. And then you go, that's the game. Like, you take that series to 7 games. Now you play Miami, take them to 7 games, super exhausting series. Now you gotta go face Golden State. You gotta be running around Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Like, that's my only worry about Boston. Is like, how healthy are they to like compete with Golden State right now?
Look, I mean, in reality for the Boston Celtics, I mean, we started these playoffs with missing a starter. And we probably had like a healthy roster literally in Game 6 for the Miami Heat for the first time, like 3 times. So in reality, it's more or less because, and probably one of the most interesting, I think, is going to be a part of this final series. I mean, what do the Celtics do against, again, that off ball that Steve Kerr has input? Because the Celtics, yeah, sure, you're phenomenal in 3-2 defense on the zone. However, man defense is really where you make or break in the finals, right? I feel like this year. So the Celtics with health, you got a couple of days rest. The knee is still going to be inflated from Robert Williams, I believe, despite the time. Marcus Smart seems to be in full strength. Hopefully he keeps it up. But in reality, I mean, you know, healthy or not, with a limb on your ligament or something on your bone, the Celtics are going to show up that day. No doubt in my mind. So,
definitely. I'm not saying they're obviously going to show up, but like, you know, especially at the end of the games, you know, like the last stretch of the game, how clutch is like Boston? Because, you know, I've been hearing a lot of like, if Jason Tatum that clutch, it's Marcus Smart that clutch, Jaylen Brown that clutch. Like, how clutch is Boston to like kill this Golden State team, which is they have Steph Curry.
Very, very clutch. I mean, right now, you know, Jason Tatum looks to be, you know, building himself up as an offensive juggernaut, as a two-way player. You know, from what we've seen, especially from this Heat series, even though the Celtics lost both of these games, the comeback they almost make late. I mean, that's going to be a huge part in this series where the Celtics, even though they're down by 10 and, you know, vice versa with the Warriors, I mean, either team can still make a comeback and take over the game. So I think the Celtics still have that offensive mindset where, hey, we're still in it. So I think that they could match up easily, but, you know, they're going to have to be efficient.
I mean, Alejandro, prediction for the NBA Finals?
Give me Boston in 7.
Why?
I think Boston in 7. I think the Boston Celtics are a better team than the Golden State Warriors. I really do believe it. I think Boston's defense is the difference. I think their switch-heavy defense is going to create problems for the Golden State Warriors. I don't think the Warriors have faced a team like Boston. And let's keep the theme of winning on the road. I think Boston goes on the road into Golden State's house. It's going to be packed with yellow shirts, and they're going to beat them. They're going to beat them with their defense. Problem for me, if I'm picking Boston, but I am questioning Boston's offensive abilities. Because when you look at the Miami series, even in the games that they won them because of their defense. They weren't hitting shots. I think Game 5, they weren't good offensively. Miami couldn't score a bucket. Game 4, I think it was a similar story where both teams had awful shooting percentages, but Miami shot like 30% from the floor. So Boston has to score against the Golden State Warriors. They've got to be better than they were against Miami, because if they play the way they played against Miami, I think they lose the series, but I think they'll elevate. I think Udoka will make the adjustments, and I think Jason Tatum will cement himself as a superstar in this series. That's my prediction. I think he's going to go nuts, and I think the Celtics will win the series in 7 games.
Brandon, prediction for?
I mean, as a hopeful, believe in Boston, and I'm gonna keep on believing. I'm praying it's Celtics in 6, but in reality, I feel like it's gonna be Warriors in 6, and that's what I feel like right now. Because, I mean, the same thing with this Miami series, you have to take one game on the road, and I don't know if Boston can take one game in the Chase Center in San Fran. So that's the real question right now for the Celtics if they take on the road. I don't believe so, just because of how that Warriors team is built in front of that crowd. So in reality, Warriors in 6, but I mean, believe in Boston. I still got hope.
Jonathan, prediction?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Warriors in 6. I do think though that the Celtics will steal a game in San Francisco. I think that's going to happen. But yeah, I think offensively, that's a really questionable. You really have Tatum and Brown, and you have Al Horford here and there, but those are the guys. And I think you look at the Warriors, they're hungry. They haven't been back to the finals in 2019. They know that they want to win this one. Clay's back. He's had a heck of his, playoffs, postseason. They want to win another ring. That's the goal. And, the Celtics team, look, they've had a terrific year, but I think that if the Celtics are not going to shoot well, Golden State's going to take all advantage of that, and they're going to really, really, can really put up points very quickly. So I think Warriors in 6, but I do think the Celtics do take a game. I think they take Game 2 against the Warriors.
Leo?
Celtics in 6. Here's why. I think I will say this: Thursday, we're losing. We're not winning Game 1. I'll put it out there. We're losing Game 1. I agree with Johnny. We're going to win Game 2. My thing with the Celtics is, how does Golden State answer the size of the Celtics? And our size isn't that natural. Like, we have bigger guys who can't move as well. All of our big players, Al Horford, Rob Williams, they can move around the court really, really well. And also defensively, they're able to step out onto the perimeter and take on a guy like a Curry, like a Clay, like a Wiggins. Rob Williams is able to take them on. You're obviously not going to put him on that matchup every single time down the court. But as a fan, if I'm seeing Rob Williams step out to Steph Curry, obviously I'm nervous because he's Steph Curry. But I have a sense of comfort that Rob can do it. Offensively as well, Rob Williams, if healthy, and that is a huge if Rob Williams is healthy, he will have a fantastic series. Around that rim, rebounding, I mean, Draymond is super physical, but he's got the size on Draymond, and he's got an insane wingspan. He'll be able to grab boards. He's going to get inside. He's going to do things. Rob Williams is an X factor in the series for the Celtics, and it seriously just comes down to his health. On the Warriors side, I'm looking at Andrew Wiggins. The guy, former number 1 pick, so much hype out of high school, fantastic at Kansas. Obviously, things didn't go well in Minnesota, but when do things ever go well in Minnesota for anybody? So I think he's got a point to prove, and he's been a different animal for Golden State. He's been amazing in the playoffs, and I think what you're going to get from Clay. You know what you're going to get from Steph. You know what you're going to get from Draymond. If Andrew Wiggins, and I guess Jordan Poole as well, but I'm looking at Andrew Wiggins here. If Andrew Wiggins steps up and plays the way he's been playing in this postseason, it's going to be very difficult for Boston. That being said, the Celtics are one of the best teams in the league, if not the best. There's a reason their starting 5 all received all defensive team votes. There is a reason Jason Tatum was all NBA first team. Say what you want to say about it, but there's a reason, you know, Jaylen Brown should have been an all-star this year, in my opinion. I feel like he was snubbed. You got those two, and there's a guy in Marcus Smart. He's inconsistent, but one night he's giving you 5 points, the next he's giving you 25. He's going to have those games. So I just think the defense is going to disrupt Golden State's offense. We're able to handle the off-ball pressure. And I think we've shown that we're not afraid to go into hostile environments and win games. Game 6 in Milwaukee, backs against the wall, facing elimination. Jason Tatum drops 46. Game 7 in Miami, Eastern Conference Finals. We go in there, we take care of business. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we led the entire time. If not, there was just a few minutes where Miami had the lead. We've had these pressure cooker situations where we're not supposed to win, and yet we still have. So I think we lose game 1, it's close. We win game 2, take care of business in Boston, lose game 5, and we win the chip in Boston, game 6.
Well, thank you guys, Brandon, Liam, Alejandro, Jonathan. Appreciate you guys. It's been really nice talking to you guys. So let's see what happens in the NBA Finals then. Good luck to Brandon and Liam.
Thank you.
Hopefully, you know, Golden State can win this. I'm kidding.